Hello YouTube, today I bring to you the review of another game in the Dark Pictures Anthology series, called House of Ashes. House of Ashes was developed and released by Supermassive Games in 2021, and it's the third installment of the series. I'm playing this game on an Xbox One console, but it is available for PlayStation 4 and PC, and I think this one is totally worth it. Now, I am a horror movie fan, so that's probably why. This is an interactive drama/horror game experience, and it's pretty unique in its delivery. You really can consider this one as like you're playing a lengthy horror movie, with occasional button presses. Compared to open world games, you'd consider this game probably pretty linear, although there are many different branches you can take as you progress through the story, and that's kind of the whole point of the game to begin with. The question becomes, how many characters can you get to survive by the end of the story? What's actually going to unfold based on your choices? That's the basic overall goal here. The controls are pretty straightforward. For the most part, you're watching movie footage, but you'll get to use the directional sticks from time to time to walk around, and you're going to use the A button when you see something that's flashing. This will be some piece of something that's in the environment that you can interact with. It's usually something that helps with the backstory. Maybe you're looking at a tablet or a piece of paper, a journal, something like that. You're going to be choosing action paths to advance the story and the different character personalities, and you can usually react in 3 different ways to a situation. And the truth is, I can't even say if these actions are going to be positive or negative, but you're usually going to get 3 options. You can do or say one thing, you can do or say something that is kind of the opposite, and usually you can do nothing. Nothing is actually a choice. When you do make a choice, people are going to react to how you responded, and they're going to do this in different ways, and the game is going to advance. Also, there are going to be critical moments of horror or action, and it's not going to be unusual for a button to appear up on screen, and it'll tell you what it wants you to press. You got to pay attention and be careful for when these happen, because they sometimes pop up and you're not exactly sure when they're going to pop up, and if you miss a particular button press, it can cause somebody to get killed. You can set the game to limit the variety of button presses that you have to interact with. Normally it's going to rotate between the main 4 buttons, but if that's too much and you're sick of missing a button press, maybe you can't jump to the Y button quick enough, you can change the setting and it'll just use the A button. Sometimes when they pop up on screen they disappear really fast, so this isn't cheating, this is making the game more usable. Now when the button presses do happen, I find myself wanting to press the button at least twice. Most of these are going to be single press encounters, but not all of them. It's important to make sure you're actually triggering the action correctly. When it's a repeated button press, you get a few seconds to actually build up that meter. You'll understand once you run into it. You just need to pay attention to the type of button press when it happens. What's also great is that in some of these instances, pressing a button might actually have a non-desired effect. Like, you're pressing a button, but you might not know why you're pressing the button. There was at least one time in my first playthrough where pressing the suggested button on time actually ended up with somebody getting killed. So it's not always a guaranteed right thing to do. Also, there are times when you can aim using the right directional stick. The thing that I wasn't really aware of is that you don't just aim with that, you have to pull the right trigger to shoot. Man, my first playthrough, I was aiming and I was on target so much, but it wasn't telling me to shoot, so I missed a bunch of shots before I figured this out, and it was a bummer for sure. I think the gameplay itself is relatively basic, but for this game it's the story that's really important. Like other games in the series, there is this mystical narrator that's in a mansion, and he speaks to you about the story in general terms. He'll show up in intermissions, and it's going to occur a few times throughout the story. He's in this creepy mansion, he explains a little bit of what's going on maybe a macro level, and you can interact with him a little bit like you would in the rest of the game. Sometimes you can accept a little bit of his input, or you can just pass, up to you. In any case, he's really there to just help remind you of the current peril that you're in. You take control of various characters throughout the story, and you don't choose which characters to play. The game chooses for you. At least in solo play. There is a multiplayer, but I haven't ventured into that gameplay yet. In the solo play, you're going to be bouncing back and forth between various points of view as the story moves forward. In terms of story, this one is mostly a story of survival. The game opens 2000 BC. We're talking thousands of years ago in the Middle East, and you're in the temple of an emperor. This is back when sacrifice was a normal thing, and the people in charge were kinda crazy with power. In this case, basically there's a war that is about to start. Ultimately, some monster appears, it's a curse apparently, and it starts slaughtering people. Then the story picks up in modern times. We're talking 2003. After the Iraq War, it's winding down. There's a Marine unit that's dispatched to find weapons, and they believe they found some sort of an underground bunker, and they're using a satellite program that apparently located it. What the program actually located was a buried temple. The temple that we saw at the start of the story. It was buried for thousands of years, and a long story short, Marines fall into the temple, and this curse, or those monsters, are still alive. Marines are trying to find their way out of this temple while not getting killed and figure out whatever's going on down there. I'm trying to not give away parts of the story here, but rest assured, there are additional conflicts here that muddy the waters. There's this Marine versus Iraq Army conflict, as well as group dynamics between different characters that sort of come to light as the story progresses. As a horror game, it feels unique to be playing soldiers in a story like this. We're dealing with characters that are trained and well armed, and although they might not always act as logical as I would expect them to, they are clearly capable and they're armed. There's something appealing about this scenario, not being completely hopeless, I think. That happens a lot in horror movies, and I'm really glad that it's not here. When they introduce the different scenes, they're going to tell you the time of day, and they're also going to mention the depth of where you currently are. I think this little bit of information, the inclusion of your depth, is something that really helps set the mood. There's just not an easy way to walk outside of this temple. It goes down, and as you progress, you go further down, and it starts to feel harder and harder to survive. I think that's pretty clever. I enjoyed the story overall, and it really goes places that I didn't expect. If I were to offer any criticism about this story at all, it would have to be that I hate when there is a serious danger and somebody wants to stop and suddenly talk about some personal problem that is completely irrelevant to the problem at hand. You're being chased by a monster, and then you round a corner and you manage to hide from it for just a moment, and you have a second to take a breath. Now suddenly a person wants to turn, "Hey, I want to talk about our relationship all of a sudden." What? Where does that come from? That is the least important thing we could be talking about at this exact moment. Great way to be focused on the task at hand, everybody. It's minor, of course, but it is a pet peeve of mine. The footage I have here in this video, it's only from the first maybe 4 or 5 hours of the game. I beat this one twice already, and I'm trying to not give away anything major of the story. It's a cool journey. There was this really great video ending as well. When the credits are rolling, there's a video playing behind it, and it's really pretty awesome. I checked the game online, and apparently there are a sizable amount of different endings. I think the tally was over 100 combinations? Maybe? At least what I read said that. I guess knowing how different things are going to be in a game like this is the thing, right? How many times are you going to run through it to see how different it could be? I've already gone through it twice, and I've seen it go in 2 different directions. But also when you beat it, it unlocks individual chapters, so it's a little easier to jump back and play your favorite scenes over again if you want to see the different branches, so that's also really cool. I think there are a good amount of scares in this one, and I find myself mostly liking the cast of characters as they are. They feel relatively diverse in a few different ways, and most of all they feel competent, and I appreciate that. I know they have different choices as the game goes, and they could make some bad choices, but I don't start out looking at this group as a bunch of misfits. Safe to say I'm a fan of this game, and of this series overall. It's this different experience, and it's really fun watching these stories unfold. Probably the first time through has the biggest payoff, but tracing back through the game again, just looking for alternate branches to see how different the things might become, that's pretty appealing to me. There are a few really distinct story points that I want to try again, just to see how different I can make this game run. Already on my 3rd run through, and I'm really appreciating it. Well, that's all I have today for Dark Pictures Anthology House of Ashes for the Xbox One. If this is your type of video, please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel and all that good stuff, and thanks for stopping by to take a look. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to catch you on another video.